Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the Halo 4 Elite Zealot action figure set by McFarlane Toys. This set is part of the first series of Halo 4 line of action figures and was first available in 2012. I got this set at Target and paid about $15 for this set. Taking a look at the Elite Zealot here in the packaging, you'll notice that this particular Elite is a little bit different in design compared to the previous Halo line of action figures, and that was Halo Reach, I believe. And that's because this represents the Elite as designed in the new Halo series, upcoming Halo series. And this one is of the Zealot, and you can see that the Zealot here comes with a helmet and an energy blade, so that's pretty cool. And this particular Zealot here has 26 moving parts. And interesting, they have the description for the Zealot here on the side of the packaging for this particular series. Pretty neat. And here we have the back of the package, along with other figures from the first series. We have a Master Chief, the Elite Zealot of course, Grunt Storm, and a Spartan Warrior. And coming soon they'll have Cortana, a Spartan Soldier, a Crawler, and a Watcher. And coming further down the line during the holiday, they have a secret enemy figure. This will probably be revealed when Halo 4 comes out at retail. Now we'll be right back and have the Elite Zealot out of the package. Okay, we're back and we have the Halo 4 Elite Zealot out of the package. And this is a nice figure. Now I'm a big fan of Elites, so my views on Elites are a little bit biased. But I gotta say that this Halo 4 Elite is a big improvement over the previous Elites from the Halo Reach line. As far as sculpt, paint, detail, and even design as far as the articulation goes, it is an improvement over the previous Elite. Now this figure being the first Elite in the Halo 4 line, I guess I'll have to do a comparison over the previous Elite from the Halo Reach line. And interesting enough, the very last Elite from the Halo Reach line was also an Elite Zealot, at least in the main line. And we'll do a comparison of that. And we'll bring in the Halo Reach Elite Zealot here. And you can see the color scheme is almost the same. I've got that coppery type color there. And you can see that it looks like they didn't really change the scale like they did with Halo Reach over its previous lines. It may be a little bit bigger on the Halo 4, just a smidgen bigger, but overall the scale is about the same. And you can see comparing the two, the detail in the differences between the two figures. There's a lot more detail, sculpting detail, on the Halo 4 Elite. And also just range of articulation. Now the previous Elite from the Halo Reach line had I think the same number of moving parts, 26 moving parts, but the Halo Reach figure was a little bit more limited in its range of articulation, so you really couldn't get it in very that much dynamic poses. And but this Halo 4 one has a wider range of movement in its joints, so you can get it to pose a little bit better, a little bit more dynamic. A lot of the posing I've done with the Halo Reach Elites are almost static. You can get some dynamic posing, but it's very hard to do, just due to the limited range of movement in the joints. And one big difference also between these two are the feet. There's been a lots of complaints about the Halo Reach Elites as far as feet go, because it's smooth out. I guess to better represent the Elite feet in the padding, I guess, and so it was more rounded, so you had balance issues. Now, I don't know if the Halo 4 Elites, the feet were designed with figures in mind or not, or are they just coincidental, but the Elites in Halo 4, the feet are flat, which makes it very nice for posability and stability. So very, very cool. Now, there are issues I do have with the Halo 4 Elite, and we'll go into them as we get to them. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories that come included with this particular set. And there are two accessories, the helmet and the hat. And we'll look at those first. And I'll take a look at the helmet. Currently the helmet is on the figure. And you can see the figure's, the eyes of the figure showing through from underneath the helmet, which is pretty cool. And the helmet is removable. You just slip that off the top of the head. And we'll take a look at the helmet here in more detail. And it's got lots of detail. You can see a lot of lines sculpted into there. It's really cool, and also even bumps on the surface of the helmet, which is pretty cool on there. And of course you got this pattern here on the top of the helmet, painted in very light purple on there. So that's kind of cool. Now the helmet to me resembles the Spec Op Elites from Halo Reach line, and where it's got that pointed design there. But this one is for the Zealot, and it's made of almost hard plastic. It's bendable plastic, not entirely rigid, but close to it, and it's very hard to bend it. So at first I had a little bit of a problem slipping this over the head of the figure. But I was able to just stretch it out a little bit. You got to really pull on it to open it up a little bit, and then place the helmet on top of the head. But it is made of a bendable but rigid plastic there, so that's kind of cool. Now the next accessory that comes included is the energy blade here, which is pretty cool. It's made of a harder plastic, harder than the helmet, and it's translucent blue with some frosting of white at the tips and the other end, and you have a nice electric pattern on here along the blade on both sides. So it's cool, since this is translucent, you can see both sides of the electric pattern on there, and they're different, so it makes it look really, really cool on there. So very, very neat. And you can see some details on the handle here, which is pretty interesting and nicely detailed on there. And like I said, made of a harder plastic. It's not prone to warpage, it's more prone to snapping than anything, because of the rigidity of the plastic there. So you got to be careful and not bend it too much on there. Now there is a peg that you can use. You can peg it into the peg hole. Actually, it was already on the sword when it's in the packaging, but I removed it. But you can see that you can place the peg on a peg hole there, and it's only on one side, not at the other. And that's to allow you to place it on the figure. There's two peg holes on this particular figure, one on each side of the leg if you want to place the blade on there. There is no peg hole that I could find on the back of the figure that previous Elites had, so you don't have that on there. But you want to go ahead and remove this peg when you want to have the Elite hold the blade or wield the blade. Now I have had a problem placing the blade securely on the figure. Looks like it was okay that time, but it's prone to or tending to fall off at the slightest nudge, because it's very difficult, at least for my figure, to place the blade handles along the, I guess you could say, two thumbs of the Elite here, and then sliding the fingers over the top. It does have a grip on it, but a very slight grip, so you got to be careful all the time when posing the figure with the blade in the hand, because the slightest nudge will knock off the blade. So it's unless I can find a more secure way of placing that blade on the thumb area, you just have to be careful with the blade there. So, but that's pretty interesting. Now, taking a look at the Elite Zealot itself, and it's actually quite nice. I'm quite impressed, especially with the increased range of movement of this figure. I really like it because you get a lot more posability with this, and it's very cool that McFarlane Toys is continually working on designing and improving their figures. So that's kind of cool. Now, taking a look at the Elite Zealot here in more detail, starting off, of course, with the head, you can see that the Elite head is slightly different compared to the Halo Reach line. Let me go ahead and take the helmet off of this guy. You can see how the differences in the head design is quite different, and I think this is to more accommodate the Elite design, or a Sangeli design, in the Halo 4 game. It looks like they made slight changes, which is okay, I guess. I actually do prefer the Halo Reach head design. I think it looks more saurian compared to this one. This one looks more worm-like to me, and I believe the Sangeli are a saurian type of race, with the tendrils for the maw or the mouth. This one is more flat. It doesn't really have the rounded tendrils at the near the mouth there, and it's rather flat along the sides of the head. So it makes it, to me, look worm-like almost. Underneath, you can see the jaw of the Elite there, and some design of the, I guess you can call them, teeth beneath the tendrils. So that's kind of a nice detailed touch there. The Elite do retain the eerie, blank, silvery type eyes there, which is kind of cool. And you can see that the head just pops out of this suit. You got the body suit that the previous Elites had. It looked almost like a mesh pattern here, but this one has a little bit of a different type of pattern on here. It's got more line detail, more bumpy detail actually, compared to the previous body suits that the Elites used to wear. So that's kind of interesting there. And you can see some of the line detail there along the neck, a combination with the bumpy texture. So looks like they improved or changed the design of the bodysuit, and that's kind of interesting. Now the armor design is of course different, more detailed. It's still pieced together for the Sangeli. You still have pieces attached to the bodysuit along the shoulders, torso, the crotch area, the legs, and the feet. It's not like the Spartans, where it's pretty much covering everywhere, but more of a piece type of design. And it's an interesting design, especially at the back. You see along the shoulders, the top of the shoulders, you can actually look into the suit there, so that's very interesting. And you got this backpack type of suit. I'm not sure if that's a jetpack or not. It's got some sort of what looked like an exhaust port there at the bottom of that back end of that suit there. And you can see it's got armor plates along the back of the spine of the figure there, and then you got this tail-like piece for the armor. And you can see the detail on there. It's actually quite nice, especially along the back on there. It's very cool. And the paint on here is like a coppery type of color. which is pretty interesting, and it's got some paint highlights of very light purple. I don't know if those are to indicate lights or exhaust ports or what, but pretty interesting. Moving down here along the arm, you got the shoulder piece, the body suit here, and I'm not sure if that's an exposed area or not. I doubt it. It doesn't look like it. Doesn't match the skin color here. But it looks like the bodysuit extends all the way to the fingertips, unlike the previous elites where it actually ended around the wrist area. So it looks like they're completely covered with the bodysuit except for the head area. So that's interesting. And you got armor piece here for the crotch area. You got the along the thigh here. Again, looks like a wrapping around, which continues on from the previous line. Typical pointed end at the knee area. Very cool. And here on the feet, what I think is probably the biggest change on the elites. The elites look like they now wear boots instead of having padded feet along for the here where it's all rounded. And it looks like they actually wear boots with what looks like heels and toe tips. So very cool, and the biggest thing I really do like is that it's actually flat now. You can actually see the more rounded edges, the bottom of the feet, but it looks like they added armor pieces and to allow it to, I don't know if that, like I said, it was designed for the toy or the game, but rather flat feet. So that's kind of cool. And what's also kind of neat is they added some spikes to the boots there. I don't know if that's as an offensive weapon or not, but it's quite nice on here. Now, going over articulation for this elite, the head here, just above the suit, it can go all the way around, as well as up and down slightly, more downwards than upwards, even side to side. So I think it's on a ball joint there. And the neck is on a ball joint as well, but you can see the range of movement for the downward movement goes down very far, but can only go up about that far. I wish it would have gone higher. Would have been nice, but it doesn't. And you can also move the second part of that articulation to the side, or actually even all the way around on there. So that's kind of nice on there. See. The limited upward movement is not because of this armor piece, it's just because of the articulation. You can see there's a gap there that would probably allow more upward movement, but that's a limit to the articulation there. The arms at the shoulders can go all the way around and can go out and in very nicely, much better than the previous elites from the previous line. So very, very nice on there on the up and down movement. No bicep articulation, but there is articulation at the elbows, allows the elbows to bend in and out. And there is a rotation at the elbow as well. And that's nice. Now I gotta mention on the elbow, I am very happy that they changed the design of the elbow. They got rid of that little point that was on the previous elites right here on this elbow that severely restricted the movement of that arm. They got rid of that, and I'm very happy they did, because the range of movement for the elite is much, much greater at the elbow now, so that's very cool. This particular elite, they added a swivel cut at the wrist, above the wrist, so the hand can go all the way around there, and the hands can also bend in and out at the wrist, and the fingers can go in and out. Now another great improvement is the torso. The torso can actually go all the way around at the waist area now, so that's very nice. Now the up and down movement is still a little limited, mainly due to the back of the area right here. But still, there is up and down movement. But one nice thing they added is large range of side to side movement, which is very cool and increases the range of movement and posability of this figure. So you really can get it in some dynamic posing now. So that's very, very nice. Now the legs at the hip are still got that ball joint that's a little limiting. It can go all the way around and can go slightly in and out, same as the previous elites there. As well as the knees are pretty much the same. They can bend it in and out, as well as all the way around. And the top knee, there is no articulation on this back knee here. Now what they've done with the feet here is pretty interesting. It's got the similar ball hinge joint that the Spartans had in the previous line, but because of the sculpt on the spike here and the back foot, it's very hard to move that ball joint to pose if you want ankle pivot or up and down toe a foot movement. If you want ankle articulation, you have to position the hinge out at the side, but it's very hard to access that ball joint, so you really have to play around with that if you want side to side movement. You can see how I moved the hinge joint by moving the foot all the way around, and you can do that with this particular figure, as well as like I said, up and down movement at the toe, and if you move that ball joint you can have ankle pivot as well. So very good improvement. I really like this particular elite due to the range of posability that you can do, and the stable feet with the boots, added boots. So very nice. The only thing I really don't like is the range of or at least the access of articulation at the ankles, and I'm not that enthused about the design of the elite head design. I actually much prefer the previous design a little bit better. So, but this is my casual peek into the Halo 4 Elite Zealot action figure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.